This is COVID Corner, a show where we examine the impact COVID-19 has had on our community. I'm Kylie Lindquist, your host. On this show, joining me will be James Baum, RBHS Band Director, Bob McDermott, a firefighter from North Riverside, Caroline Bittorf, a junior here at RB, and Christopher Mark from Christopher Mark Flowers. We're shaking things up a little on this episode, and we're going to feature also a special segment from RB's tech department where they'll show you how to fill out a Chromebook repair form. But first, joining me today is Mr. Baum.
Hi.
Thanks for being here, Mr. Baum.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to see you. So we have been talking to people about the impact of COVID-19 on their worlds.
Yeah.
And the RB community knows you as our well-known and well-loved band director of several bands here in the building. When I think of your role, I first think of marching band.
Sure.
So how has COVID-19 impacted what you do as the marching band director?
Yeah, well, it's had a huge impact on us, as you might imagine. Way back at the beginning of the pandemic, we had to shut down entirely. Then through the phases of the governor's stay-at-home orders, we didn't get to march in the 4th of July parade, sadly. But then when phase 4 hit, it allowed for groups of 50, which made it a little bit more feasible for us. So we are doing a field show right now. So we're still celebrating the art of marching, and we're grouped in pods of 50, spaced out by 30 feet between each group. So that keeps the kids safe on the field. But on top of that, we had to worry about aerosol rates and playing with our instruments and stuff like that. And there was a scientific study done mid-July or so that said that it wasn't really safe to play our instruments. So we're not playing our instruments when we're together. The kids have to record into a sound program, and then we splice everything together, and they're marching to their sounds.
Okay.
But they when we're on the field, they don't have their instruments.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're also the director of our jazz band here and also our rock band, which is a class that you created since I arrived. I know it's super popular. Have the changes been similar in those two bands, or have you had to make other adjustments?
Yeah, so the nice part about marching band is we still get together face to face every once in a while. It's outdoors, it's at night. But with jazz band, we haven't gotten together face to face. So that's been a little bit of a different animal. We still do the recording that the marching band does, where the kids have to record their parts it's called sound trap. But then on top of that, what we're doing is in-depth artist studies. So we just finished up John Coltrane. We watch a documentary, we learn his music, they learn how to jam on the music, and now we're into Dizzy Gillespie. So that's been the change that we've done with the jazz program. With rock band, actually rock band, aside from the fact that the kids aren't in the same room together, it actually has the closest feel to what rock band was pre-pandemic. Okay. So again, kids are recording parts into Soundtrap and whatnot, but they're working together to choose the music. They're learning the music on their own. I give them guidance with the program. I make sure that they have their instruments. I've had to change out strings on kids. Kids will pop a string at home. They have to bring it in. I've got to change a string, and then they go off on their merry way. So but other than that, rock band has largely felt the same.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So for those people who are watching who don't know this, you are also a professional musician. Yeah. And so how have you seen COVID-19 impact that world as a professional musician as well?
Yeah, that's probably been the hardest part about the pandemic. Luckily, my job is a music teacher, and I gig on the side. For my friends though, who are only professional musicians, it's been a pretty dire situation. Yeah. But they've pulled through, and they're putting on Facebook concerts and stuff like that. So they're still celebrating life through music on Facebook, and they're making a go of it. I hope that the next time they do the government stimulus, they do a little bit more for the arts, because the whole arts community is really taking a pounding on this one. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And we know, right, what is one of the things that has gotten people through this pandemic?
The arts. Yeah, right. And I'm pushing that on all of the kids. I'm right now the world needs the arts. You
Yeah.
know, like, there's so much solo music that can be done. There's so much creating with like the film that these kids are doing. Just put out content and brighten up people's days.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that field show that the band is working on, not necessarily with their instruments and playing, but to their own music. Is that something that is going to be recorded? Will people be able to see that eventually?
Yeah.
How will that work?
Yeah, so we're filming it. We're actually filming it tonight.
Awesome.
We've got drones, we've got cameras, all different angles and stuff, and then we'll edit everything together, and it'll be a big premiere at some point.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we will be looking out for that because we definitely want to see that.
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much for being here, and thank you for your part in helping us all through this pandemic as a member of the arts community. We know that that's so valued. I know that my music listening really upped it during the pandemic because sometimes you just need a little pick-me-up, and that's where we go to get it.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
We'll go to a brief break, and we'll be back with more after these messages. Welcome back to COVID Corner. Joining me in this segment is Bob McDermott, who is the retired Forest Park Fire Chief and now is the new Fire Chief at North Riverside.
Correct.
Welcome, Bob. It's super nice to meet you. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
You know, you're one of those people that doesn't do a good job at staying retired. I've heard that happens to some people, and they just can't quit it.
No, I love what I do, and I was lucky enough to have this kind of fall into my lap when I was getting ready to retire.
That's awesome. So how long have you been a firefighter?
34 years.
Wow.
32 full-time.
What pushed you into that career?
I don't think I ever was pushed into it since I was this big.
Yeah.
It was a dream of mine.
I love that.
I'm one of the lucky ones who actually was able to fulfill their dreams of...
Live their dream their whole life.
I was never questioned what I wanted to do. When I was a high school junior and they said, what do you want to do? What do you want to study? I knew that answer right away.
Yeah.
No struggles whatsoever.
Yeah.
So
that's fantastic.
Very lucky.
So, as you know, our show is looking at the impact that COVID-19 has had on our communities in a variety of different capacities. And so, first responders, right? How has COVID sort of reshaped what it looks like to be a firefighter in today's society?
Well, COVID really threw a curveball at us.
Yeah.
Everything that the fire service has done has historical basis for it.
Yes.
I mean, really, there's really not something that we can't look back on that's happened in history that we help us develop our plans for the future.
Okay.
Training-wise, strategy and tactic-wise. There's always been something that we've had to work from.
Mm-hmm.
This, nothing.
Yeah.
There's nobody that I worked with who had, when we had the pandemic back in 1987,
right.
This is what we did. So we had no historical foundation for what we were going to do in the future.
Yeah. How did you grapple with that? How did you overcome that sort of unknown and try to move forward?
Well, really the first thing for us was to realize that it was real.
Yeah.
When this was first starting, we were hearing things happening overseas. We do a lot of public health type stuff.
Yes.
And we were told early on to just worry about the common flu.
Yes.
Don't worry about this. And we saw that come with H1N1 and some of those other things that were happening in the past.
Yeah.
But when it hit the United States and when it hit a fire department in Washington State,
mm-hmm.
and they had to quarantine every firefighter in that
Wow.
firehouse, that's when it became real for us. That said, you know what, this is real. We need to do some planning. And that's when we started to really focus in on it.
Yeah, absolutely. How has the surge of COVID impacted what happens when a firefighter goes out on a call? How is that different now post-COVID than it was prior to that?
Well, the big thing is that we prepare for it in terms of PPE.
Sure.
We have to wear our mask. We have to wear our gowns, our goggles, booties, things that, typically we didn't have to worry about before. When we dealt with sick people before, maybe we would wear a mask, but we always put a mask on the patient. But now we put a mask on ourselves, we put a mask on our patients.
Yes.
To really protect ourselves because of the possibility, we don't want to get sick.
Yeah.
Bring it back to the firehouse.
Yeah.
Wipe out the firehouse.
Right.
We're bringing it home to our families.
Sure.
So we're really cautious about how we handle COVID patients.
Yeah.
really everybody, how we handle every patient at this point, because we don't know who has it and who doesn't.
Sure.
So it's kind of a blanket approach to all patients.
Have you noticed an uptick at all in the calls that the fire department is receiving now that we're in a global pandemic? Has there been any kind of change in, how busy things are around the firehouse?
So I can tell you that was our major concern. We were watching the coasts, because they seem to have been hit the West Coast and then the East Coast. The New York City Fire Department experienced a 40% uptick in calls.
Wow.
So we looked at it from an individual perspective of what would a 40% increase in call volume look for our department.
Yeah.
But I know you're going to find this very hard to believe, but our call volume dropped 30% once COVID hit. And I can't really put my finger on why, but, and that's not just at that time, Forest Park. We were monitoring our area because we all got together as chiefs and said, originally, if you remember, they said 50% of the population was going to be exposed.
Yes.
So we were part of that 50% of population. So what would it look like if the fire departments got hit 50%? So on a daily basis, we were checking in with each other. We established a spreadsheet and we report our numbers, and we watched from, I don't know, I'm going to say St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, through May 15th, our call volumes in this area dropped.
Okay.
And which was a mixed blessing for us.
Sure.
So
did you talked about working sort of in tandem and having, communication with the other fire departments. So educate me a little bit in, let's say that something would have happened. Do you have a regular protocol for kind of who pitches in if there's a need in North Riverside, in Forest Park? How does that work?
The answer is usually yes.
Yeah.
But again, this was something that if, for example, something happened in Forest Park, or maybe we'd have a couple guys calling sick, we had enough people on staff to handle that. But what would we do if 50% of my firefighters were sick, 50% of Oak Park's firefighters, North Riverside, River Forest, Berwyn, Cicero, Stickney were sick? How were we going to handle that? That's what the challenge was, and that's why we all had to get together and collaborate on, if one department's affected, maybe we can move people from Oak Park over to Forest Park.
Right.
If multiple departments were affected, maybe we have to move, companies around. But we were thinking of how we were going to be able to continue services, because that's the big thing. That yes, there's a global pandemic going on. There's an expectation of the public that we're going to continue services.
Yes.
When you pick up the phone and dial 911, yes, there's a pandemic going on, but you're expecting the fire department to show up. So that was the challenge for us, is to see how we could continue continuity of service with less people.
Sure. Well, I know I certainly probably speak for the whole community when I say thank goodness that our first responders are able to do just that and make sure that they're ready to receive your heroes in our book, right? When we call, we know that the fire department is going to be there. So it was wonderful to get to talk to you and hear a little bit about how this has changed the landscape for you. Congratulations on your new position
thank you.
In North Riverside, and it was wonderful to meet you, and thank you for joining us today on COVID Corner.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Come back anytime.
Okay.
Anytime.
Okay.
And we will be right back after these messages. Welcome back to COVID Corner. Joining me now is Caroline Bittorf, who is a junior here at RB. She participates in RBHS Theater and Shenanigans. Caroline, it's nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Thank you so much for coming in. So as you know, here at COVID Corner, we're talking about how COVID-19 has impacted different areas of our community. And you're the first student that we've had an opportunity to speak to, so we're really excited to get a student perspective. I want to take you back to fourth quarter last year in March, when you found out that RB was shutting down and everything was going to be remote and students were going to be at home with their teachers teaching remotely. What were your initial thoughts when that happened? You were a sophomore at the time, so what went through your head at that point?
Well, I was a little surprised, a little kind of scared, just of like the unknown. It was a lot at once, just like the change in lifestyle, and no one really knew what was going on, so there was a lot of confusion, but I think we all also thought that we were just going to go back in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So as the time went on, our thoughts kept changing about like, oh, what's going to happen next.
Yeah, I remember that. There would be 2 weeks, and then we would wait for a governor's update, and we would go, okay, 2 more weeks, right?
Yeah.
What was the most challenging thing for you from a school standpoint in that fourth quarter last year?
I think just the schoolwork and everything was a little less straightforward because we weren't the only ones that were confused.
Yes.
The teachers didn't really know what was going on, and because of that, it was just, everyone was a little lost.
Yes, absolutely. So now we start this school year, and I know that students probably went through the summer hoping that things were going to work out, that we were going to be able to start in person. But we start this school year remotely. Talk to me about what that felt like, starting the school year and doing it in such a different way than we have in past years.
It was also a little bit of a surprise. I had a feeling that the workload was going to be a little harder, but I think all the teachers just got a handle on what they were doing over the summer, and it's just a lot different. There's a lot more work, and the whole setup is different, but it is easier to like understand what you're doing.
Yeah. Is there anything that you like about the remote learning format where you're at your house and you're, zooming in with your teachers and peers?
Well, I just like the setting of my home. I think sometimes it's easier to focus, sometimes it isn't.
Yeah.
But it's nice just to be in a comfortable place to do your work.
Yeah. And what's the biggest challenge right now for you as a student learning remotely?
Well, I would just say staying motivated.
Yeah.
Like I get all my work done on time, but it's just, it's hard at times because it's not a school setting. It's a lot different, so you just kind of have to stay in the school mindset.
Do you ever get an opportunity to work with any peers in your classes or anything like that, or are you pretty much kind of solo, focused on the Zoom, or do you have opportunities to collaborate with your other junior students?
I think every class is different. So some classes we don't really talk to each other at all, but other classes we're always talking in the chat. We're in breakout rooms and talking out loud. I think it just varies, but yeah.
So there's been a lot of talk about coming back second quarter in some sort of fashion, sort of a slow, phased-in process of bringing students back on campus. How are you feeling about that?
Well, I'm not really sure yet because obviously it's going to be a lot different than being in school when this wasn't going on.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of hard to tell whether the workload will get worse or whether it'll get better. But I think we've all become so used to being at home and working at home that we've all kind of got the hang of that, and we're just getting used to that, so it might be a little different.
Right, maybe a bumpy transition, sure.
Yeah.
So we mentioned at the beginning of our segment that you are involved in theater and you're involved in shenanigans. Have you been able to connect with those extracurriculars in any kind of way while we've been remote, or have you not had a chance to do that yet?
Yeah, actually we got really lucky because they approved us to continue those. So we've been having shenanigans practices, social distancing and with masks, and we've also started the play.
Which is going to be, do we get to know yet?
Yes, it's going to be Clue.
Oh, fantastic. I love Clue.
So, and that's going really well so far.
And so for the play, are you meeting in person? Are you meeting virtually on Zoom? How are you doing that?
We're meeting in person. The auditorium, I think, passed like the aerosol thing.
Yep.
So as long as we're wearing masks and staying sanitized and everything.
Yeah. And what are you hoping for most for, as we continue to look forward for the rest of this school year? What do you hope that sort of the decision makers, the administration, the Board of Education, what are you hoping that those folks consider with regard to the rest of the school year for the sake of the students?
I think it's kind of hard to tell, but I'd say just think of like how the students are getting used to this and how that will affect the way that we're coming back and what we'll need, what different resources we'll need, what more resources that we'll need if we do go back.
Sure.
Yeah.
Last thing I want to ask you. Think of a world without a global pandemic, which is hard to do right now because, we're deep in the midst of one. What is the thing that you're looking forward to most when we get the all clear that things can go back to sort of normal? What do you want to do the most that you haven't been able to do since COVID hit?
I guess just regular interaction with my friends, my family that I can't visit. You know, just to be able to see everyone and interact in the way that we normally would.
Yeah, I think I agree with you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here today, Caroline. I really appreciate it. It was great getting a student perspective on how COVID is impacting our community. I really appreciate talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us for this segment. We will be back after these messages. Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Lindquist, and today I'm coming to you from Tech Corner. But I was supposed to be joined with some people from the IT department, and I just see some empty chairs.
Hello, Mrs. Lindquist. It's me, Otto, the IT Ostrich.
Oh my gosh, Otto, hi.
Hi, it's good to see you today.
It's good to see you. Did you bring a friend with you?
I did. I brought my good colleague, Canuel, the IT rat.
Hello.
Hi, Canuel. What are you guys here to talk to us about today?
We're here to talk to you about the Chromebook repair request form on the RBHS website.
Oh, tell us more about that. That sounds really important.
Oh, it's very important. We want the kids' Chromebooks to be in tip-top shape. Isn't that right, Canuel?
Yes, indeed.
So the best way to access this form is to go to www.rbhs208.net/Chromebook repair/. What's the most important part of that, Canuel?
You got to make sure that the slash is at the end. Otherwise, it won't take you to the right place.
Perfect. So what you need to do is also make sure you're signed into your @rbhs208.net email address. That's very important for this. If your parents or your brother or sister are signed in, make sure you open an incognito window and then access the link to the form at www.rbhs208.net/Chromebook repair/. So the first thing you're going to do when you're on the sheet is you're going to select your Chromebook issue. What are some Chromebook issues, Daniel?
Some people have broken screens. Some people have issues with their wireless, and then there are many other things that people can have. There's an other option for that.
Yes, we have another option. You can put anything you want in there. If it's broken, if the cat threw up on it or something, you'll be able to choose that if you want. Then you have to put your name, and then your ID number, and then your year of graduation, and then select the model of Chromebook you have. You can drop your Chromebook off here at the school Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. We're always here. Make sure you choose what time you arrive. What's the most important thing about the arrival time, Canuel?
It has to be between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m.
And you have to make sure you put p.m. if you're coming at 12 p.m. We're not going to be here at midnight to help you with your Chromebook, unfortunately.
No,
Even Otto, the IT Ostrich, and Canuel, the IT Rat, have to go home sometime.
We do. They allow us some good R&R time at home.
Good.
Well, I mean, that's all we really had to say. We want kids to get their Chromebooks repaired and, have them in tip-top shape. Isn't that right, Canuel?
Yep. You can't get the schoolwork done if it's not working correctly.
Thank you so much, you guys. As the assistant principal for curriculum and instruction, this is really important to me because I want to make sure that kids can do their work. And now I feel so much better knowing that you both have our students back with those Chromebook repairs. Thank you very much for being here today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us.
I hope we get to talk again. And for those of you who are viewing at home, I will see you on the next segment of COVID Corner. See you later. Welcome back to COVID Corner. We are joined now by Christopher Mark, owner of Christopher Mark Flowers. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, you're very welcome. Very welcome.
Christopher, tell us a little bit. You own a flower business. I know it's very popular because this is the first time I've meeting you, but since I got here, I've heard all about Christopher Mark Flowers.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about the origins of your business and how you got started in the flower industry.
I got started when I was a little kid. I was about 6 years old, and I would fill up mason jars with water and cut all the flowers in our yard and whatever was coming over from the neighbor's yard. And I'd put them in the jars in my wagon, and I'd walk up and down the streets in Berwyn selling flowers.
I love it.
And I had an affinity for it all my life. I love gardening. And I worked my way through college at a shop in Arizona. And then I was actually getting my master's. I was in my mid-40s, and I had the opportunity to open up a shop, which was my dream all the time. And now 15 years later,
here we are.
Here we are.
Living that dream still.
I cannot believe it.
I love that.
cannot believe it.
So obviously our show is talking about the impact that COVID-19 has had on a variety of different folks and their businesses. How has this impacted your business? I mean, you're a retail business and March hits and everything shuts down. What happens for you?
It was crazy, like everyone else.
Sure.
You had to think quick on how to try and make things work.
Yeah.
I did find out from the other flower shop in town, this keeps falling, I'm sorry, that we were considered essential.
Oh, great.
So I started letting my customers know. I live in Forest Park, so running downtown only took 6 minutes back in March, April, and May because no one was on the road.
Yeah.
I'd go to the market, get flowers, make arrangements, deliver them, answer the phone, do the same thing every day. And I made it work that way. Obviously, all the big things like weddings and funerals, they're gone.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of them are next year, hopefully.
Yeah. Right.
And we still have a few left this year. And it's just worked that way. People finding out. I did advertise a little bit. It's on our Facebook page. And I just made it work.
Yeah.
And because Mother's Day, people couldn't visit.
Yes.
Mother's Day was booming.
I was just going to ask.
I should say blooming, but
yeah. I
was,
was just going to ask, have people still been ordering flowers?
You know what? I've said it a million times. My customers are the best. And I hope they're doing it with all the retail because they've helped me so much.
Yeah.
Getting repeat business, getting every kind of business you can get. And it's just helped that way. The customers, people finding out that I'm still in business, call, got to send one to so-and-so and so-and-so. And then to see the people's faces when they get flowers, especially early on.
Yes.
I mean, I had women crying just because, especially the elderly, they're alone.
Yes.
They see this man coming to the door with a mask and gloves. We do contactless delivery.
Okay.
And it's worked.
You're bringing
It's
people
worked.
happiness back
Yes.
when you deliver flowers.
Sunshine,
to their door.
happiness.
Absolutely.
And it's made people's days, and it's made mine too.
That's
so.
awesome. Speaking of some beautiful flowers, it looks like you brought some flowers with you today. What do you have here for us?
Back in May, June, I had a mom and her daughter come in. The Brookfield Farmers Market doesn't have a flower grower.
Okay.
And they said if you could come up with something cost efficient between $15 and $20, we'd come in here every week.
Oh, great.
So I talked with my wholesaler, I've come up with things that are inexpensive, and with the summer, knowing what I can pick out in the wild, mixing the two.
Oh, nice.
I've come up with a $15 bouquet.
Beautiful.
We have them every week, Wednesday through Saturday, and they're going to go through the end of October.
Awesome.
Because in November, we celebrate our 15th anniversary.
Oh, wonderful.
But it was their idea, Sherry and Molly, and they're a big hit, and this is this week's bouquet, so I just wanted to show it.
That's beautiful.
It's an assortment of different mums, some fern. This foliage is called agonis, that's its natural color. And these are I forget the name of them.
They're beautiful.
It'll come to me and I'm just going to say it
That's
out. But,
okay.
But yeah, that's what that is.
$15, that's beautiful.
Yes,
and what
it's
about
a
this one? There's a
$15
little
weekly
Halloween
bouquet.
theme?
This is going to be our Halloween special. It's going to be $19.95.
Oh, beautiful.
Cash and carry out of the store. We're calling it the Ghoulish Garden.
Love it.
It's going to be a variety of fall flowers in the colors. It's going to have a little bat and a skeleton, and it's just a cute little thing,
I love that. That's
So
fantastic.
I'm
And you
trying-
said $19.95.
$19.95. I want to keep things affordable, and so anybody could get them.
Absolutely.
So-
So where do I go to get, where's Christopher Mark Flowers? Tell us a little bit about your location, your hours.
We're open 9 to 5, Monday through Saturday.
Great.
If we're not there during business hours, it means we're delivering. We're at 3742 Grand Boulevard.
Wonderful.
Right in downtown Brookfield there.
Wonderful.
And Yeah, and you could actually see a sample of these each week at Loca Mocha, the little coffee shop in the train station.
Wonderful.
She puts them out and then people see them. So
Oh,
it's
I
a
love
little bit
that.
of advertising that way and doing, you know, things with other businesses, helping each other. So.
Yeah, absolutely. The community support is so big right now.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I know that you've been a staple of Brookfield for a long time. Like I said, I've seen your flowers at our graduations, at our awards ceremonies, and it's always been beautiful work.
Thank you so
thank
much.
you so much for joining me today.
Oh, it's been a blast.
I really appreciate it. I love your love for flowers. They make me happy. I can see they make you happy.
Oh, they do.
And I think that you have probably been able to bring a lot of smiles during a time that we desperately need.
I sure hope so, because we do need them. We do need smiles.
Thank you for joining me. It's been really nice talking to you.
You're very welcome, Kylie.
And
thanks for having
all
me.
of you for joining us for this time on COVID Corner. We hope you'll join us again. Thank you to all of my guests, James Baum, Bob McDermott, Caroline Bittorf, and Christopher Mark. Take care, and we'll see you again soon.